Hey guys, I'm Brian. So there is a great feature that this watch has that Galaxy Watch users might take for granted. So there are many smartwatches that struggle to provide the best experience to people who are left-handed. Now, I'm not a lefty, but I've been wearing it on my right wrist because I've been comparing it with my other smartwatch, which I wear on my left wrist. So look, with many smartwatches, if you wear the watch on your right wrist, then you have to keep the orientation of the watch the same way you'd wear it on your left wrist, which in this case would have meant that you needed to use the buttons like this, which makes no sense. But with this watch, now in addition to being able to choose the right wrist, which most watches let you do so, you can actually change the position of the watch. So then the two buttons are positioned on the left side of the watch, which is probably what a lefty would want. This is a big deal that's just missing from many other smartwatches. And so if you're a lefty, and you have a Galaxy Watch, you gotta appreciate it more is what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, the watch needs to be comfortable no matter which wrist you wear it on. And I personally don't like silicone straps as I sometimes get a reaction on my skin. And even though in my first impressions video, I said that the silicone strap is too thick and gives the watch a bad look, after wearing it for 2 weeks straight, I'm really surprised at how comfortable the band is. I've had no allergic reactions and no discomfort when exercising or sleeping with the watch. I just don't like the look of the silicone strap. Do you like it? Is it just me? Let me know. Now, this watch doesn't have a physical rotating bezel, and based on what I've heard, some folks absolutely love the rotating bezel of the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, but the new watch has this virtual rotating bezel, and if I could be honest with you, it's not always very practical and it can be tricky to use, but it's not a total gimmick either. In fact, this is great for quickly jumping from the start of a page to the end of it, but otherwise it's not always faster than just swiping or scrolling normally. It does have a nice satisfying vibration to it that I think is an essential feature of it, and I can't imagine myself ever using the virtual bezel if it didn't vibrate. I found a quick use for it, and that's for typing messages. So when I want to correct something, I can just use the virtual bezel to move the cursor to where I want to. And speaking of typing messages, it's not the easiest thing to do, but the auto suggestions and the touch bezel definitely help. And if you change the default keyboard to Gboard, then you can even do swiping gestures to type your messages. And of course, there are lots of quick responses that not only can you edit, but you can also add your own custom messages. Now, the new Galaxy Watch 5 has a beautiful UI. It's responsive, but sometimes it can still feel slow and laggy for a moment. So for example, when you swipe down to see the general menu or the notification menu, or swipe up to see the apps, it can take a second or two for it to respond and things like that. And like I said in the first impressions video, it's unfortunate to see that the core fundamentals of the new Galaxy Watch is exactly the same as the old one. Things like the CPU, RAM, and storage. And that means that you're not gonna see much of performance improvements unless it's achieved by software optimization, which can only go so far. And about battery life, on average, I've been getting around 36-37 hours when using it moderately. If I use more features, then it's gonna be less than that. And I think it was the first or second day where I learned a big lesson, and that was to never go to sleep without charging it if the battery level is below 25%. Because guess what? The first night, the watch died at night during sleep. And it's this one thing that I think Samsung and Apple need to figure out, but I also know that it's not all their fault. If we want a great looking UI with lots of apps and smart features, then of course it's gonna affect the battery life. And by the way, the first couple days, it might feel like the battery is draining faster than usual, and that's probably because of the adaptive battery feature, meaning the watch is still learning about your usage pattern. Now, this watch comes with some nice watch faces that you can customize to your liking, and this can be done either on the app itself by basically tapping and holding the current watch face, or you can even do it on the phone. And here's one thing related to that which I really like about this watch. So basically, since sometimes it can be hard to know where to find certain things on the phone app, a lot of the times on the watch you'll see an option to open the page related to the current feature on the phone. So for example, now I can just tap and hold here and then tap on the phone icon to open the watch face settings on the phone. And by the way, this is my favorite watch face that has an animation and it changes, but it also affects the battery life more. What I don't like about the watch faces from Samsung is that they're just too simple and missing a lot of data fields. You might think differently, but I don't want to buy a smartwatch only to install a simple analog watch face or something simple like that with no data fields, which Samsung calls complications. I want to be able to see many of my preferred metrics at a glance. And that's why you have the option to install third-party watch faces. The downside is that not all are free and they might be poorly written and buggy that might drain the battery fast. In this current watch face, I've added the steps, battery life, my stress, and the compass. But look, the stress is not shown, and instead I have to tap the thing to go to the stress page. But the stress indicator could have been easily added to the watch face. And I noticed that the compass doesn't seem very accurate, unless I don't know how to use a compass. But basically, I saw a couple times where the north was pointing to almost the opposite direction. So it's either I don't know how to use a compass, or where I am has a lot of electromagnetic anomalies that affects this. Or it's just not accurate sometimes. One of the interesting features of this watch is that you can transfer your pictures from your phone to the watch's gallery and vice versa. And to those who say that they don't like a smaller bezel or a bezel-less watch, try to zoom in and zoom out on a picture on the watch, then you'd appreciate a smaller bezel and bigger screen. You can even transfer music to the phone and listen offline. And if you're exercising, for example, you can connect your earbuds or headphones to the watch to listen to the music. And look, I can even control my earbuds directly on the watch. This is especially useful if I quickly want to disable the touch controls. But even if I decide to listen directly on the watch, the speaker is surprisingly loud and quite clear for its size. Now, you can consider the Galaxy Watch 5 a complete health watch. So from sleep tracking to ECG and body weight composition, especially with the new skin temperature sensor, which they'll roll out the feature hopefully later this year. But how accurate are these features? Well, if you're actually someone who needs to regularly do an ECG or check your blood pressure, it's better to err on the side of caution. And remember that for certain folks with certain conditions, you should not use the ECG. So be sure to check out the description box below for this info. But what you need to know is that accuracy is very important, but what comes next is consistency. So with a lot of these nice health features, since it's hard to measure accuracy, you want to make sure that at least you're getting consistent results. And with the sleep tracking feature, it looks like I can rely on the consistency of the reports. So what's that mean exactly? It means that at least the length of the sleep doesn't vary a lot, especially since I use another watch to compare with. I can speak of both consistency and reliability more confidently. But when it comes to the accuracy of the sleep stages, I'm not so sure. For example, according to the watch, I was awake for 1 hour last night, but there is no way I was awake for that long. I just know it. But what about the blood pressure feature? Is that reliable at all? First of all, you should know that there is a reason actual blood pressure monitors need to be worn around your arm and not your wrist. So again, you need to accept the fact that instead of accuracy, consistency is a better measure here. And one thing some of you guys may not know is that you need to have an actual blood pressure monitor for the first time and do a few readings with that, as well as the watch, to calibrate the watch with the blood pressure monitor. So here's a blood pressure test with an actual blood pressure monitor compared to the results from the watch. And of course, both were taken at the same time. Not too bad. And I noticed that the results are quite consistent, and that's what I want to see. And here's a tip for you. Always wear your smartwatch 1 or 2 fingers above your wrist bone for the most accurate results. And this is not just for the blood pressure monitoring, but also your heart rate during the day and especially when exercising. So if you wear your watch like this, it's wrong. And the ECG is another feature of this watch which I tested a lot. So nothing could go wrong, right? Well, one of these times the watch said that I had AFib. So what I did immediately was that I did another ECG with a more reliable device at home, and it didn't show any signs of AFib. And then I did an actual laboratory ECG test, and again, everything was fine. So that's all I'm gonna say about this, but at least you got to see a review video where finally somebody talked about the ECG a little bit. And perhaps the latest reliable feature I've tested is the body weight composition. So I didn't have time to do an actual professional grade body weight composition test, but the best way to improve the consistency of the readings is to do the test exactly at the same time or around the same time every day, and do it a couple of times. And the best time to do it, in my opinion, is right after you wake up. Otherwise, if you take those measurements randomly, you're probably gonna get readings that are just all over the place. And speaking of things that are all over the place, sometimes the heart rate jumps around quite fast. But to be honest, I haven't done a proper test. So let's not go there, but I just wanted to say its accuracy is absolutely important and can affect all other readings, for example, your stress levels. But anyways, the stress level monitoring is really nice to see. And you can, of course, see the historical values, and you can do breathing exercises to possibly lower the stress level. But one thing that's missing, in my opinion, is some kind of relaxation reminder or high stress level alert. You do get stretch or movement reminders, which is nice. And if I'm not mistaken, that's every hour. that you can turn off if you want to. So when I first tried the watch, it felt quite intuitive and almost like I'm wearing an Android watch. But the ecosystem is a little strange. For example, there is the Samsung wearable app that you need to have on your phone to use the watch. And then there is the Samsung Health app, which is installed on your Galaxy phone. But then you'd also need to install Samsung Health Monitor app and create an account there to see your blood pressure and ECG recordings, and maybe the cardiogram app. So it would have been nice to see everything in one place, one app that takes care of everything.
So I did this once, let's do it again, this time holding the watch in front of my mouth. You can even record your voice even if the watch is not connected to your phone. That means the Bluetooth is not on, so it will save the voice in the internal storage of the watch, and then as soon as the watch is connected back to your phone, it'll save the voice in the internal storage of your phone.
And by the way, there are certain things that might have affected the battery test that I've done. So for example, like I said, my choice of an animated watch face, or turning on the snore detection, or the fact that the heart rate monitoring was by default on periodic measurement. I think it was every 10 minutes or so, and I changed it to continuous measurements. Oh, another one, just so you know, by default, you're gonna get Bixby on this watch. But if you want to change it to Google Assistant, just open the Samsung wearable app, then go to watch settings, then advanced features, and in the press and hold drop down of the home button, choose assistant, and then try pressing and holding the assistant button, and then it'll walk you through a quick setup. So there are a few things that I didn't include in this review that I thought I could include in a comparison video, because I thought perhaps a review of the fitness tracking features of the Galaxy Watch 5 in comparison with a watch like the Garmin Venue 2 Plus might be more interesting. So let me know if you're interested. And if that video ever sees the light of day, I'll put it here. But for now, why don't you subscribe and watch this video next?